Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to another episode of This and That, number 7, 007, and on the evening of Halloween as well. As long as nobody comes trick-or-treating while we're trying to broadcast, I'll be okay. Don't forget, we've got the live chat room, and you can, if you're watching us on YouTube, that is, and good evening to Martin in the chat room. Nice to have you along. And also, we're available on Twitter if I notice, but do feel free to Twitter us at sbit_TV. As always, I'd just like to remind anybody watching that this is not really meant to be a very professional broadcast. This is an experimental thing. And there we go, there's my caption. This is an opportunity for us to experiment with various ideas that we've had, bits of technology we want to play with, and we're interested in, just seeing what happens. So everything could fall flat on its face, or it might work. Who knows? We're going to find out. We've got a few interesting little experiments this evening. The biggest problem with doing anything live is when you forget what you're going to say next. Oh yes, I remember. Now John sat down, I can flick back over here. We've got, as we quite often do, we have John with us and Merle. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Marvellous. And yeah, and there's some interesting stuff going on here, which you may or may not be able to see. I'm going to just get rid of this bug that's over the top of Merle's head. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Merle joins us, at least for the first part of this evening, on Skype. And John in Sweden is joining us on Zoom, and they can actually talk to each other, as I will now ask Merle to demonstrate.
Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, Merle.
So what this shows is that they can actually see and hear each other. It's all coming through my setup here, but this took a bit of working out. Sorting out the audio for this was a complete nightmare. It took me several days to work it out. John is actually on the same computer as I am here, in that I'm running the Zoom meeting software as normal on this computer, but I've set up a really old computer in our back office with Skype on it and another copy of vMix, and we've brought Merlin through there. And there are a few logistics with trying to enable people to be able to hear each other. Seeing each other actually turns out not to be that difficult, really. But the audio is tricky in that, in order for one person to hear another person without generating feedback, it gets ever so complicated. And I think Merle, we did sort of talk about this a bit at some stage, didn't we? And we were scratching our heads thinking, how the hell's that going to actually work? Because it's just, how many buses are you going to need and all this kind of thing for a start?
Yeah, you just have to, as you say, give it a go. You don't know if it's going to work or not, so you just have to give it a shot.
Yeah, you're definitely right there.
It's worked out rather well, I think. I'm looking at the YouTube feed, and it looks quite good, and everyone sounds good.
Excellent. Well, that's good news, and yeah, I hope the YouTube feed is okay. We're running 480p tonight, by the way. Normally have been running 360p, but I thought we'd try and up the quality a bit, and we're also running 100 megabits more. Sorry, 100 kbits more. I'd love to have 100 megs to throw away like that. Yeah. Yes, yeah, you have, I know. Yes, John, for anybody who hasn't seen him doing a speed test online, has 100 megs up and 100 megs down. And that's quite normal in Sweden. I'm jealous. Merle's got pretty good. What are you, Merle?
I'm 100 down and 25 up.
Right.
So I'm happy.
I'm 1.1 up and about 8 down today. So I'm the small holder amongst us this evening. So this was very tricky. So do I try and explain how I did it just now, or do I try and cover that later on? I suppose we ought to just talk about it very briefly. Basically, I've got the bus A on the computer I'm talking to you on now connected to a virtual sound card which is going out to Zoom, and bus B is connected to nothing. Well, it's connected to what it just says is enabled in vMix, so it just doesn't go anywhere on the local computer. But of course vMix has NDI, and if you go to another machine you can actually pick up bus B as an NDI feed. So I'm using A and B as my outputs on this computer, the mix minuses that don't have your audio in. So bus A doesn't have John's audio in, and bus B doesn't have Merle's audio in. But I'm sending bus B to John, and I'm sending bus A to Merle, so that you can hear each other, and me, because I'm going out on bus A as well. So, well, I'm going out on bus A and B, I suppose. And then on the computer in the back office, I've had to pick up, I've forgotten what I've done really. Oh yes, bus B I think it is. I'll have to go and have a look. It's that fiddly, I can't remember off the top of my head what I've done exactly. But I've picked up an audio feed that doesn't have, yes, it's John's feed, isn't it? So, oh yeah, no, that's right. The feed that I picked up on NDI is just my audio, which I'm sending to Merle along with John's audio, but not Merle's audio, so he doesn't get his own audio back. And you can see how my brain just melted down with this over the last few days. Oh dear. Oh, speed test. All right, here we go. Let's show John's speed test. Look at that. Oh, it's slow today, John. Only 90 megabits.
Yeah, but my boss is actually downloading a couple of movies from my network hotline as well.
Ah, right. Martin in the chat room saying it's impressive to see. Well, thank you, Martin. It took me a lot of thinking about. We'll actually go into it in more detail if anybody actually wants to do that. But for now, I think I've probably said enough on it. That is very impressive, John. It really is. So the only problem, of course, with doing this is that it's using quite a lot of bandwidth, and John can only hear Merle through me, and the problem with that is that Merle's sending me compressed audio, very nice compressed audio on Skype, I must say, but then it's coming in here and being recompressed before it's sent on to John, so John's not hearing Merle quite so well as he normally would, and vice versa. So we're going to bring Merle into the main meeting as we normally do, because it'll help things with the bandwidth, and they'll be able to hear each other directly, which will make life better. But yeah, just to round the experiment off, gents, if you'd like to just have a very quick conversation with each other, just to show it's actually working, and then we'll move on.
Well, John, it's working rather well, I think, but as Giles said, it does have a little bit of a problem. in that the sound is compressed twice, so that it makes it a little difficult for us. But it's doable. It's something that can be done. So that's the important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would actually think that the biggest problem with this is Giles' low bandwidth. I think that is causing some extra issues in the quality. If he had some more bandwidth he could use for it, it would probably work just fine, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to route your bandwidth over to Giles.
Yeah. It's going to be a long cable.
Okay, well, I think we can see there that it's actually working. So what I'm going to do now is to ask Merle if he'll end his Skype call. Please, Merle, and I'll bring you in on the same meeting as Jon is on, and we'll bring you in the normal way. All right, so there goes Merle. So I just need to now bring him back in again on the Zoom meeting. So we will do that by doing this. Invite to meeting. Should hear a few dings and bongs in a second as we get Merle back in again.
That was pretty simple.
Good.
There's some other things that I don't know what kind of router you have, Giles, but when you have a slow connection, it can actually benefit from a good router.
Yeah, the one I'm using is designed to cope with sort of fairly rural network connections, such as the one I'm on, which is quite a long way from the exchange. So it's tuned just slightly differently for that, and we found that does help. I did have a standard router before, and that wasn't so good. But I'm only 3.2 kilometers from the exchange, but there's and 3 is the sort of standard limit, I believe, for ADSL. But the wiring is very old in this area, and I think that's probably what's letting it down more than anything, really.
Because I actually had improved bandwidth when I replaced my router with. I had one of these high-end home routers from Linksys, and I wasn't happy with the Wi-Fi on it because we have so much Wi-Fi networks here in the area. So I switched it out to one of these from Ubiquiti, Edge router. And this particular one is able to deliver 1 million packets per second, which is quite impressive for such a little box.
That is impressive.
And that actually gave me another 15, maybe even 20%, depending on the kind of traffic I was generating. So I'm actually quite happy with this one.
Well, that's very good. That's very good. I'm running hardwired here. I'm not using any Wi-Fi, and it's a Vigor. Yes, I appreciate what you're saying, because you're saying that the actual router will handle that many packets per second. Yeah.
This one's only cable. It's not Wi-Fi at all.
Oh right, yeah. No, mine isn't either. Yeah.
So this is a dedicated device, and then I have one of the access points. Actually, I have a couple of them to cover the whole apartment. But they have these also quite price-effective Unify Wi-Fi boxes here. They're also reasonably priced. And these enable me to run NDI over Wi-Fi without any big issues.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's very impressive. Because NDI over Wi-Fi is, as I will demonstrate in a bit, is fraught with problems with standard sort of domestic type hardware. But can I just bring Merle back in now? Merle, how was it for you on Skype? Martin was saying he was seeing a slight delay in your video, and that was brought on by my old computer in the back room there. But are you hearing each other a bit better now you're back in the same Zoom meeting?
Oh yeah. Being in the same Zoom meeting helps a lot. It was a little difficult, but like you said, I think it was possibly just the compression twice and the older computer. So, yeah, I'm quite pleased with the way it worked out.
Yeah, hopefully Martin is now seeing your feed as sort of being in sync again, and that'll be good news if that is the case. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, Martin's saying it was impressive that Wi-Fi router, John, that can handle NDI. Oh yeah, Martin's saying it's much better now. However, again, it shows what can be done, which is true. Absolutely, Martin. Martin, well, if you want to come into the show, please do feel free. I'm quite happy to call you in on the Zoom meeting. Now we've just got back down to the one input. I can handle another person. So if you'd like to come in, I will happily give you a shout. Right, now then, John, when we last spoke, you were purchasing the NDI app. Do you want to come in now, Martin, or do you want to come in later? Just let me know. You were purchasing the NDI app for the Android phone. I don't. Have you got that? Have you got that handy? Is it something you could demonstrate? Aha. All right. So I'll let you explain what it is you've got there, and this should be interesting because you're doing this over your good Wi-Fi, and I've got the same app, and I'll show you what it's like over mine. So over to you, John.
Yeah, well, actually, we can take. I have two phones running right now, so I can go to this one over here. That is a Sony Xperia Z2, right over here, running NDI. Unfortunately, they have limited it to run 720p. I guess that's okay, but it's not full HD, and you can probably see that. And the application is fairly simple. There are not many options that you can configure. You can set some light, you can set some zoom, disable the microphone, and a few other things. Obviously, you can switch between the back and the front camera as well. But other than that, it's just like a camera app. And to make it work, you have to push. Oh, here we go. It will start out with this one little fella being white. And I noticed when the app was released, and we talked about it on times, a few people couldn't make it work because they forgot to push the record button. But it's fairly simple, but even though it's simple, it seems to work quite okay. It has a decent latency, and that latency seems to be dependent on the application, actually the hardware on the phone, which is kind of obvious. As you can see, the Sony phone here is pretty much up to the task, but I should actually be able to, in a second, add. Obviously, it doesn't show up right now. That's how it is when you have to make a demonstration, right?
It's always worse when it's live, isn't it?
Yeah. Here we go.
Who's that? Is that me bogging or somebody else? I thought I'd just shut that up. But...
So this is my LG G2. It's working quite well. You can see the Sony over here on top of the Handycam, and right back here. It's working surprisingly well, and I've been trying to play around with other streaming apps and webcam stuff, and this one is definitely the best and most well working and even stable of whatever technique I've tried so far. So, I mean, it does cost a little money, and for some reason I am unable to make vMix switch.
It's just...
Here we go. Now we are... This is not the NDI camera, this is the Panasonic camera it was sitting on top of. But again, if we have the same angle, it keeps up pretty well.
That's not bad at all. That's very good, isn't it?
So from a price point, it's really good. And I'm sure that I'm going to have a lot of fun with it, because it is fast enough and it's responsive enough so you can do some fun things with it. But obviously, it depends on the hardware it's running on. So your personal mileage will vary, of course.
Yes, naturally. Yeah. Oh, it looks very good. I downloaded it myself. They fixed the tally light thing. I must show you that. That wasn't working before. But if I switch my phone on and take my finger away, this is on my standard sort of Wi-Fi. You can see my... Sorry. Oh, do I need to kill my other audio so there's no echo? Is that what you're saying?
That's better.
There we go. You can see that's my setup for today. I think the audio is now coming through my phone, and I've got my streaming machine over there. And of course we have the necessary caption. What is interesting, actually, I don't know if you've seen this, John, because you're running 17, I think, aren't you? If I get my view up here, I don't know if you can see, but have I got audio now, or is it double audio still? Anyway, I don't know if you can see. No, you can't. There's a green box around the image on my phone, which shows you whether I'm in preview or not. At the moment there's a green box there. If I take my phone out of preview, it's now turned to a blue. You can see there's a blue line around the picture. And when it was live, there was a red line around the edge of the picture, so you've actually got a tally function as well there, which is kind of handy. But I think that's something they've just fixed.
Yeah, it just looks to me like it would be really handy, especially for someone that was was doing reviews or something like that. I mean, you get an over-the-shoulder view with a camera that you already have. I think it's pretty cool.
I was actually, to my own surprise, approached online by a fellow from Lebanon, of all places. Approached online by a fellow from Lebanon.
Got some echo going around somewhere. Can you listen to us on headphones, Martin?
Try that. That's on now.
Yeah, that's better. Yes.
Yeah, it was my YouTube feed that was still running, so it's gone now, so I do apologize.
That's all right, no problem at all. Good evening, by the way. This is Martin, for everybody who knows him. In fact, if I'm very, very quick, I can do that. There we go. Martin from the UK.
Aww. Why is he getting special treatment?
I thought he was supposed to be out in the middle of a field.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. It's Halloween, though. I was a little bit scared today.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Well, there you go. So, yes, we welcome Martin onto the show.
Oh, thank you.
Very good evening to you, Martin. So what do you make of what you've seen so far?
Amazing. It's taken it to another level to be able to use different bits of equipment and to showcase this to people and say, look, this is what we're able to do. We're able to bring in different software and get them to communicate together. I just think every week something different is coming on here, and you guys are just, pulling all the stops out. And it's amazing to think that we're all contributing to hopefully the development of people like ourselves, and giving them the information and the knowledge that they need to know to be able to do some pretty cool stuff. So hats off to you, especially Giles, for putting this together and demonstrating how this can be done, and both Merle and Jon for the support in enabling kind of Giles to do this, and your input is also key. So it's fantastic, guys, fantastic.
Well, you can have an evening show host without any audience.
Fair enough, yeah, true point.
We have to give Jon the clap as well, I suppose. I'd just like to say thank you to you all, though, because this wouldn't happen without you all. I mean, the only reason this show works is because we all experiment on different bits of things together, and I think it's fun, and we learn a lot by doing it, don't we? And that's so. Thank you as well, and a massive round of applause to you all. I'll stop playing the sound effects now. I just had to do that tonight, though, being Halloween and all. It just has to be done. In fact, I can now.
It wouldn't surprise me if you have made small icons with skeleton heads and stuff like that. Oops, sorry.
Sorry, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Before we get away from it, I just wanted to say that I thought, I told Giles earlier that I thought it was quite interesting in that he even thought about combining the two programs together. It was something that I didn't even think to do. And He's kind of the man with the plan lately, it seems. So, when one of the others of us think of something, we'll certainly throw our hat in the ring.
Well, it's just, a few little ideas we have cooking up. Sorry, I just...
Foolish.
Well, and, that was supposed to be a lab sound effect, and this is supposed to be ghostly, Halloween-y effect. I tell you what, you can have a lot of fun with these effects, but sure annoy people quite quickly, I should think.
Just having way too much fun, that's all.
Oh, I am.
Way too much fun.
Well, it's all these buttons, I've got to fill them with something, That's actually all on one button. That was activating a playlist. I've got one more quick one. Bit of thunder and lightning. All right, I've actually forgotten what we're talking about now. Oh, we were talking about the NDI. Sorry, Martin, go again.
You have far too much time on your hands.
No.
Clearly.
Well, I have to learn how to use this thing, so that's my excuse anyway. I'm sticking to it. Anyway, we were talking about that NDI camera. We didn't quite finish that one off, so I ought to hand it back to John. I just wanted to show him briefly that they'd added the vMix actually had fixed the tally light thing in vMix 18. And also, I don't know if you're aware, they've fixed some problems to do with the NDI Camera app in 18. So there's a few workarounds in there as well, John. I don't know if you had read that.
Nope, I haven't paid attention, to be honest.
So they're improving it all the time.
But the interesting thing was I was approached by this guy from Lebanon who has built up from scratch his own TV channel and transmitting 24/7, self-funded through some sponsors, and he was reaching out to me because I had made a review in the Google Play Store for the NDI Camera app, and he was not able to buy it. He was not allowed to.
Well, that's interesting.
So I helped him getting his hand on the app, but it was a bit strange that an application like that is blocked in Lebanon.
Yeah, I wonder why.
They've had civil war and are flooded with refugees and millions of them. I think 25% of the population in Lebanon currently is refugees from Syria, and then they can't even get some fun software that actually can be useful. I mean, that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think their problem is that they're just not taking any chances with anything that's electronic at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, we got it solved, so no worries. And I've asked Tom if he could invite this guy into his show because he seems to be quite interesting. I mean, he's former BBC from London, I think it was, and now he's running this little TV station, and he's doing some quite nice graphic works as well on the side, and he's doing most of it by himself.
Do you know, John, what kind of content that he's broadcasting?
No, I'm not too good. My Arabic is a bit weak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As is mine.
it's some sort of local news, local event, which is also why he wanted to get this NDI app for the phones, because that would actually enable them to go outside and just link up with some Wi-Fi and actually do some outside broadcasting live.
That app is a $20 purchase. Am I right?
About that, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
And if you want to improve on things, you can use a small microphone like this Rode microphone, the Smart Lav Plus. You can hook it into a smartphone, and then you have a quite decent setup.
Yeah, I watch quite a bit of what you might call underground news on YouTube. I tell you, those guys with phones and microphones like you're talking about, they're doing an awfully good job of getting news out of places that you ordinarily wouldn't see it. I'm pretty impressed.
Yes, I think that's a very good point, Mel. I think there's lots of people out there now that are starting to give feedback on stories that you wouldn't normally come across, and feedback on stories that are probably hidden a little bit by mainstream media. And it's nice that we have the option to tap into those.
Yeah, I'm firmly convinced that they would like to turn those guys off, but I think the public in most countries, like yours and mine, would have a small revolt if they did, because that's how most, well, not most, but that's how a lot of people take their news. They don't watch the mainstream news. They find someone they can trust, and that's where they get it.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, Giles, he spends all his time, I think, watching the news, but the remainder of his time trying to think of things that he can do with vMix.
It's the one thing I've always really not enjoyed watching. The news is often very depressing, and I tend to watch stuff that's funny and things like that. And sometimes I will put the news on a very, well, I think it was the oldest surviving hotel in the UK in Exeter, which is only down the road from here, about 30 miles away. Burnt down over the weekend, and of course that's been on the news, and it's very sad. There are places that I know, and the pub that was joining the Well House, I think, was destroyed there as well. So the Cathedral Green on Exeter, and I watched it because I was very sad that it was being destroyed, but I tend not to watch the news otherwise. If I might listen to it on the radio, but just to sort of keep a rough idea of what's going on. But there's so many depressing things on the television, like all these soap operas, EastEnders and stuff like that. It's just just depressing program. Well, you don't get EastEnders, I suppose, over there, Mel, but it's a depressing soap opera.
Oh no, yeah, we get it here too. But you just reminded me of something, and that is your day job is making sure that we have that hotel to see after it's burnt down, because I'm sure that you probably have gone over there and taken pictures of that hotel. If you haven't, someone surely has. And,
I imagine somebody will have done, and hopefully we can do that. But when I last went there, I didn't have a camera. The camera phones and things didn't exist, which shows you how long it is since I've been there. But I used to live over that way, and it was somewhere we used to go quite a bit. And I got to show you what John's putting up on his screen.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
I just have to add, we're not allowed to talk about politics as the company, so I'm going to have to keep out of that one.
Well, but come on, it was a theme about being depressing news and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually
absolutely.
should not have responded.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Oh dear, oh dear. Yes, I wish I could talk about that, but when we're off the air. So no, sadly, Merle, I don't have any pictures of these places, but I know they're on the internet. But and it is very sad they burnt down. They're really, really ancient buildings, and you know, it started in the art gallery next door to the hotel, burnt through the hotel, and apparently burnt through the pub as well. So it's a really massive fire and absolutely terrible. And anyway, so I did watch the news because I was kind of, really, this is terrible. I've got to see this, but yeah. Otherwise, I just listen to the radio a bit and things like that because there's too many depressing things in the world, I find.
This is for sure, without any doubt whatsoever. But I think you're sometimes better off to actually be like you are and not want to watch and know what's going on, because it certainly is going to happen anyway. So, however much you can stand, you should probably be aware of it, I guess. I don't know. I watch too much news, and I try to tell my wife about what I saw today, and she is absolutely not interested. So, oh well, whatever.
I think there's arguments for being knowledgeable and about what's going on, and there's arguments for sticking your head in the sand, aren't there? But I guess I do a bit of both, to be fair. But sorry, somebody else was about to speak. Then I interrupted them.
I guess it also comes. It depends on what you do for a living. Sometimes you have to stay oriented and knowledgeable about what's going on in different parts of the world, just as part of your job. So, in some situations, you just can't avoid it, unfortunately.
No, that's quite right. Absolutely. But there we go. Well, we were going to have a look at the activators in a bit more detail this evening, but I think we might leave that till next week because we've already been running 42 minutes. So I think does anybody else we've not asked Merle about the 100% CPU, Merle. That's been our ongoing thing, hasn't it? Have you any more updates on that?
Well, the problem with my update today is that I haven't really used the computer that much in the last week, so maybe 3 or 4 hours at most. So whatever update that I would have today is going to be good because I haven't done anything to make it break.
Well, this is always a good start.
We're working on about 3 weeks now, though, which is probably longer than I've gone without it having gone to 100% in the CPU usage, and still good. So taking Firefox off and the SSD, or one or the other, has, I think, done something. Probably by next week we should possibly get to a point where we at least think something is going to be better or not. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, let's hope it's fixed it. And I'd be surprised if it's the SSD. I run a couple of SSDs and they don't give me any problem. But I don't run Firefox on this machine. I do use Firefox on Linux, but not on Windows. So, oh well, fingers crossed. Let's hope it's sorted. Just looking towards Martin. Martin joined us late in the show, so I don't know whether he's got any news or not. So we're just going to go and ask him live on the air. Have you any news, Martin?
News? No, not really this week. I've been quite busy doing other things, so I haven't really had any time to mess around with VMix or we'll look at some of the applications that we can put together to make it work. But when I do, this will be the first place that I bring it.
Fantastic. We appreciate that.
We have to keep It's All Tom's Fault going.
We certainly do. We definitely do.
It was nice last week that this show had a mention on Tom's show, which was cool. And yeah, it'd be great maybe one day to have yes, that's it. It'd be great maybe one day to have Tom come on the show.
Yes, that would be good.
Why we're doing this?
Yeah, well, I suggested to him that he subscribed so that he could see what we were saying about him, and he has done that. So, yeah, with any luck, he'll be able to follow what we've been doing. And for those who don't know who we're talking about, Tom Sinclair over at easternshorebroadcasting.com. Great guy, vMix reseller, very helpful, and he does some excellent shows. Well, has been doing some excellent shows now for about 4 or 5 years, live, showing how to use these various products, and certainly over the last 2 or 3 years it's been vMix. And it's really fascinating to see what he gets up to, and he's very, very helpful, has some very interesting guests on his show. And it's very interesting just to see the way this technology is developing. So we highly recommend you go and take a look at his stuff at easternshorebroadcasting.com. I think we were talking about possibly doing a demonstration of his automatic camera switcher plugin at some point, won't we, Martin? That's something we'll talk about.
Yes, yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, because that is very good. He has demonstrated it on his own show, but it would be fun to sort of to do that, and it'd be quite good fun. You just started thinking the same as me. Instead of switching cameras, you could switch live feeds, couldn't you? I think that's the thought you were having, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, look at that. Cripes, our minds do work similarly, don't they? Well, folks, that's what's going to be coming up in the next few weeks, hopefully, in that case. Okay, well, we've been running about 40-odd minutes already, so what I'm going to do is to... that wasn't a very good thing to cut to, was it? What have I done there? What I meant to do was that, and then probably that one, yeah. So, okay, we've been joined by Pussycat as well. Fantastic. So I would like to just thank everybody for appearing on the show tonight. There is a post show. We usually carry on nattering for a bit, so please do stick around for that if you're watching live. And if you want to chat with us through the chat room, please feel free. We're watching that as well, so we'd be very pleased to talk to you. So I'll let everybody say cheerio to them for themselves. Starting with you, Martin. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Giles, as well. It's a pleasure, as always.
And Merle over in the USA. Thank you, Merle, for joining us this evening.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Enjoyed it every second.
And Jon over in Sweden. Once again, thank you very much for joining us.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much indeed. So that only remains for me to say thank you for watching. And if you're watching us live, thank you for your comments, and if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to miss the post show. You have to come and watch us live. So until next time, that's the end of This and That for this week. Cheerio for now.